Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Global Soccer Conclave. It's the third day today, and we are heading towards the end of these wonderful sessions. Uh, so, today's session is about the kickoff, which is an expert discussion on the sports techs. And we have our esteemed panelist with us. Let me introduce to you first the moderator for the session, Mr. Siddharth Deshmukh, or known as Sid popularly. He's a seasoned industry leader with over 20 years of experience, of which 9 years have been into the sports industry, where he has handled sports commerce, sports development, sports education, and technology. He's the founding member of MBA Sports Management at Symbiosis International School of Sports Sciences and is an ex CEO of Khel Now. He runs a famous talk show, Let's Talk Sports with Sid Deshmukh, where he's interviewing athletes, business owners, coaches, administrators from Indian and global landscape. He's also a brand manager to the famous captain MS Dhoni in cricket and also a mentor to Qatar Sports Tech. Welcome, Sid. Welcome to the Global Soccer Conclave. And please take over the session from now. Thank
Thank,
you.
thank you, Amol. I think it's good to get the nice introduction, warm introduction to the session. And when I have amazing panelists with me, I think
I'm
let
just
me.
giving a warm up thing so that the session can go and become more exciting and we have a lot of exciting discussion ahead. Waiting
Yes,
for it.
correct. And when the topic is sports, I don't think anything can be dull there. So thank you for that, and just taking this thing forward. And I have amazing panelists with me. First and foremost, I have joining from Singapore. We have Iris Cordoba. Uh, Iris has been instrumental in promoting entrepreneurial as well as innovation from public sector perspective, both in Latin America as well as Spain. Main emphasis for her has been cultural industry, Spanish economy, and sports and entertainment industry. Uh, she has from the 2015, she has been leading the Global Sports Innovation Center powered by Microsoft, which is called GSIC, a unique and collaborative initiative between the public, private, and academic sector. GISC has become an international reference and it's currently in the phase of international expansion. And for the same thing, she has moved to Singapore recently from Spain and to take it forward. Uh, we were expecting one more panelist, which is probably delayed, but hope he joins. Rob Thompson, and Rob comes from the sporting industry, sports startup background as well. But I'll probably keep the introduction for him to feel good when he's there. Uh, Moving on from that, we have another veteran of, or I'll say, amazing person from Indian sports for decades, that we have Hemant Dua. Hemant believes in one thing, that ideas are plenty. It's only when translated to reality makes a difference. So Hemant is a co-promoter of DYT, Do Your Thing, an online startup in the brand content marketplace, and enjoys helping startups in the sports tech, esports, gaming space, uh, and taking it forward. He has vast industry experience and over 25 years, and has successfully turned around businesses, curated brands, and multiple things. And one of the things that we know very well is being a CEO of Delhi Daredevils, which is a IPL team. Uh, we have with us somebody just called himself 3.5 decade of baggage, but I think that's a baggage, that's a wealth of experience that he has with his. It's Sudhir Agarwal. He's a director of business development for government education sector for Microsoft, founding member of GITS Udaipur, the industry academia board. He's an experienced CEO with demonstrated history of working in information technology and service industry. But I think the main thing that he's been breathing is project on governance, business processes, skills in the government and education sector. So this is the amazing panel that I have here, and looking forward to this chat with you all, and just going to talk about sports and trying to add a technology flavor to it, because yes, that is what we see, and that is what the future is. We are talking about coming out of pandemic, or at the fag end of pandemic, that we want to call it. Singapore is already called it the endemic, but in India we're still calling it a pandemic. So it is fag end of it, but technology has played a big role in whatever we have seen in sports over the last 2 decades. So coming to the questions from my side, Iris, I think I want to start with you, giving you the benefit of having the plus 2.5 time zone from where we are. So you are late in the evening, early night for you. So Iris, first question to you: you being the forefront of promoting sports technology, how do you feel sports technologies are performing at present in terms of improving performance as well as revenue generation?
Okay. First of all, hello everyone. I'm very happy to be part of this panel. Answering your question, we know that the application of technology is always intended to improve something, no? To optimize and facilitate, in this case, the sport performance and also the generation of income to the sport entities. Therefore, before responding from the view, for my viewpoint of the sport performance, let me highlight how the technology is making it easier for the sport entities to introduce solutions that allow them to explore the new ways and financing, no, to how monetize this kind of solution. You know, at the GSC, we have been supporting sport entities around the world in the digital transformation process, working in various scenarios such as more venues and engagement, business insight and productivity, and of course in sport performance. In this sense, new technologies are essential in most professional sport, and naming some of them benefit answer your question. For example, the technology protects the health of the participant, prevent injuries, and help to extend their useful life. You know, it's very important for the players how they can prolong their useful life. Some technologies like thermography solutions to measure the body temperature and prevent leisure, a bar in soccer, a smart insolate with sensor, a smart shin guards, a smart helmet, change of the material in design of the sport equipment, glasses for the pool or cycling with augmented reality. In short, we have been seeing from the GSC and our current ecosystem with more than 300 members worldwide, how these solutions are increasing the presence in different sports. But as far as I concern about the potential for monetization, is not only focus for the people who are listening us today. It's not only for professional sport. I think the opportunity is in the amateur industry, because in the amateur industry, and only key question is the data, no? A lot of the solution that I talk about, sensors, a smart helmet, a smart can collecting data and will allow us to provide information not only for the player, also to connect with the fan. And I think this is my answer to your question.
Yes, Iris, I think it's a good start. I have a lot of questions for you with whatever you guys do at Microsoft and innovation that is happening at the Global Innovation Center. So I'll come back to you with more questions around not only athlete performance, but actually fan, and the fan going into NFTs, and now the cryptos and the fan tokens. Everything is coming along. So I'll come to that, but just want to ask Hemant a question, which is rich experience with IPL and Indian sporting ecosystem. How do you see the sports technology influencing the market and promotion of sport? And specifically, you have experience of international market as well. So if you want to start from international market and then end it with Indian market, that will be great.
Well, sports. I mean, like, sports is more about passion, right? So it's one of the only industries which I believe is purely driven on passion. It's not a cyclical industry like normal any other industries where, you know, the investors would look at saying, okay, the metal prices are going up and I'll invest in this, and the metal prices are down. Sports is about passion. I mean, like, there are billions of people who follow that because there's a passion, and so that brings in a natural consumption out there. And keeping that natural consumption into play, it's an industry which is an evergreen industry, and but also one of the industries which has taken to technology a lot much later compared to a lot of other industries. But the growth has been by leaps. I mean, like, it's been growing at an amazing space. I mean, like, currently I would say sports tech globally is probably around 48 to 50 odd $1 billion industry, out of which Asia contributes to large extent, close to around 11 or 12 odd billion dollars, right? So Asia is still pretty young. There's a huge amount of space. Majority of the money in sports technology has been coming in North America and then in Europe, right? So those were the two old pillars, but Asia's taken over in a large by leaps and bounds, and I think the growth has been happening in 2 or 3 segments largely in Asia, which is esports, which is one of the most booming segments in Asia of large, and Southeast Asia and China are contributing largely to that segment. And then there is the RMG space, which we call real money gaming, which is taken by storm in India, and that is driving the next level of investment in sports tech in India. Dream 11, as everyone knows, is a current unicorn, and there's a MPL, which is touted to be the next unicorn. Both are in the RNG space, and similarly, there's a lot of. So I would say in India, sports tech is still at a very nascent stage, Sid. Where probably you've seen the real jump happening over the last 3-4 years, but that's when the real shift started happening, and that shift is visible in the way we are kind of absorbing sports technology in India. One of the stories that I was reading yesterday actually was about Bhavina Patel, who won a table tennis gold in the Paralympics, right? And she said she was able to achieve that, that gold medal and go and beat a Chinese competitor who was, much more celebrated than her, was primarily because Sports Authority of India was able to provide her with a robotic, a robot against which she could actually practice being a Paralympian, right? So because she sits in a wheelchair and plays table tennis. So that tells you about how a technology can prepare an athlete for the future, not just normal athletes, but even Paralympians, right? And the future is just unbelievable, right? So, I mean, 3 or 4 segments where you see a lot of money being actually deployed in is obviously, as Iris was also saying, it's about activity and performance, which are the key areas where most of the money goes in globally. And then there's the organization, which is the smart stadiums, where a lot of money is going in building smart stadiums out there. But the 2 keys which are really adorable for the investors are, fan engagements, which is one area where investors want to pour in a lot of money, because they believe at the end of the day, it's the media and fans that really drive the output that's going to come from there. And then gaming and bets, which are the subset out of it. So that's my initial bit, and then we'll get into it as we move forward, Sid.
Yes, and I'll be coming along with some questions specifically around the whole fan engagement side, because as we know, the performance side is kept to the elite, but how the data is getting utilized towards fan engagement. I myself have worked, as you touched upon the topic of smart arena. I have worked on the world's first ever smart arena with Sacramento Kings in the US. I have worked on the whole technology part of that, and it was fascinating what Vivek Randy was planning that time in 2015-16 times when we had not even heard of fan engagement, and he was talking about the connected smart arena. So I'll come to that. But my next question is to Sudhir, and yes, he's been working with a global leader like Microsoft, and even though the field that he is mainly working with is government and education. So how do you see the sports innovation hub for Indian and the Asian context can be created for betterment of sports ecosystem? And I would like to understand mainly because both the aspects are one of the most important pillars of making India a sporting nation, education and government coming together. So what is your take on that, Sudhir, about making India a sporting nation, and how does the innovation hub can be created for better sporting technology?
Thanks, Ed. At the outset, I would like to thank Global Soccer Conclave team to invite me on such a panel. I can confess that this is my first exposure as a fellow panelist on a sports platform. So thank you very much. So it's a new experience for me.
That in sporting language, that's called debut. So congratulations on your debut.
Thank you. Thank you. So 2-3 points said, I pick up especially from Hemant's left. One of the points that, if I got it right, that in India, especially if you see that, sport tech, first thing is very hardly heard. Maybe it is among the people of interest. Like today, if you say, you say fintech, it's a term known to pretty much, common people. Whether you are engaged with the financial sector or not, but still fintech is a very common word. But sport tech, I think this is very, very select group of people possibly they know. Second, I think there is also kind of notion attached that it is only for elite people, what we just said, it is not for common people yet, because in a country like India, when we have so much of people around and, with the diversity. So sports as a commodity, if we say like sport tech as a commoditization, that is still, we are in the very, very early stage, as Hemant rightly said. We haven't, maybe it's my limited exposure, but I haven't heard of, doing hackathon on sports. In the area of sports where, the startups are coming and creating, new dimension, new thinking, or also in a small way, I think when we say sports and online sports, kids playing, I think it still has a wrong notion from a legality perspective. So somewhere I think legal framework also, government needs to come more upfront and say like, there is nothing illegal. Because also little money is put in those sports and all that. So, it also brings the legality factor. So I think there are some of the circumstances, like the parameters around us, which we need to really work upon. As far as India and Asia as a, you can say region potential, I think the answer is absolutely yes, because India is the hub where a lot of work we are doing for global. Whether maybe in my limited circle, what I have come across like fintech, we learn about regtech and some of these technologies. So the hub is here, the startups. Now, if you really see the new trend in India is the startup is no more a buzzword. Today you have startups coming from India and they are going global. There is also a trend by the government and the ecosystem to push startup on the stock exchanges now. They are saying, bring them in stock exchanges. So they want to give them a different framework, different exposure. So from that perspective, I think right mindset we need. We need some kind of focused investments. And we need some kind of, I will say government should continue to have a least role in this, so long they don't become any kind of, they don't create any hindrances. That is what, sometimes it is said that, the only thing government should do, they should not do anything. So as far as the government role is concerned, it should be like that. And somewhere today when we are talking of micro education. Now what we are talking of micro education, that even the new education policy says that after 8th onward, let the kids pick up their stream. Do they have interest in photography? They have interest in, any of the non-core educational sector. So how we can bring education into that. And I can share with you, because wherever I'm engaged with in the digital technologies, yesterday only I was talking to CSC entrepreneur, the VL is a village level entrepreneur of Citizen Service Center. Today, everything in the country, what the new framework, new policies, new programs are coming, they are being rolled out through them. So imagine they have, likewise, they have CSC academies. Now CSC happens to be a name in consideration here, but we have more ITC, Chopal and all that. I'm saying we need to find mechanism through technology that how, whether when we say telemedicine, we say tele-education, how tele-sports, we can take it to the nth level. How we can encourage kids and their parents and their ecosystem, more than the kid and parent is the ecosystem, where they're encouraged to look at sports as a career. And the new education policy, especially which supports that 8th onward. So if we can create some streams to give exposure, so that when we say like, pass or fail early, let the kid realize in the first 2 years from 8 to 10th or 8 to 12th that whether sports can be the career for me or not. Then coaching is again a very rare commodity. Getting right coach, the quality coach is again a rare commodity. So like we have telemedicine, when we are saying the metro or the international surgeons, doctors, they can be made available to the rural area. How we can commoditize with no marginalization, but how we can commoditize the sports to the nth level in the country. And we have also seen, like, I follow a little bit more cricket, but also if you see lot of, unlike good old days, lot of new players are coming from the nth level of the country. They are not necessarily coming from metros alone. So how sports tech can be commoditized, can be made integral part, and can be made more known to all of us, so that we people should look at this as an inspiration. So I think that's what would be my initial some comments said.
No, I think they're very well said, and some of the points that I'm just going to pick from that, and to ask my next question to Iris is Iris has been handling. She's heading the Global Sports Innovation Center powered by Microsoft, and what Sudhir spoke about is the education policy or the India as a hub. The whole world is looking at India for the sheer numbers that we bring to table. We are talking about we are the youngest country in the world, 800 million people under the age of 35. We are talking about 400 million kids under the age of 18, and almost 800 plus million mobile handsets, smartphones active in India. Probably number must have gone up. I'm probably referred to this a number last year. While all these things are happening, you spoke about performance, and everybody knows in the sporting landscape, we always talk about the pyramid, right? There's a participative sport, competitive sport, and elite sport. You spoke about the performance and all those things specifically at elite sport, but there is a big sector of participative sport and the competitive sport. So how do you think that in next 5 years, whatever probably last couple of years, fan engagement and other things were fast forwarded because there were no people in the stadium, and few people really got benefit of that. But if you look at a regular steady mechanism, how do you think you can predict the next 5 years in sports using technology that would reshape the basically the bottom of the pyramid and the mid sector of the pyramid, and not before we actually reach the elite part of it?
Yeah. When we talk about sport is tourism, sport is health, sport is entertainment. And in this sense, it's not easy, your question, but I'm sure that in the years to come, we will see more technologies advanced that help to improve all the scenario linked to the sport, not only the top with the elite area, other scenarios like the improved experience for the players and also for the fans. The important that the data solution like machine learning, Internet of Things, but above all, to be honest, I hope we will, in the coming years, innovative solution commitment to the environment, to the social impact of the sport, to reduce the carbon footprint, because all the technology solution that allowed the social and sporting commitment that transcends the border of the club. I think this is a challenge. This is a challenge that India, with the very big population, country like emerging country like South America, where the sport is very important. I'm from Argentina. I'm so sorry, I introduced myself, and I think it's important to create or to see the future and build together the technology solution to try to create more sustainability industry, reducing the carbon footprint, and more commitment for all the players, the stakeholders in the sport. In this end, we have been seeing a clear example of this past since the beginning of the pandemic. where the sport has been the thermometer. Sorry, my English sometimes is not very strong. You apologize for that. But where we have accelerated digital transformation in all the industry. No, this pandemic is not only in the sport, and the sport is not had been the exception. We have seen the increase of the OTT solution. I think in the next 5 years, we can see more OTT solution, not only for the club. You can see now gyms offer OTT solution for their customers. No, I think now we can see the sport practice is more than ever part of the political agenda to seeking a healthy body and mind, and this will be able to new ventures and sources of income. I think it's the opportunity for the entrepreneurs to create new solution and to bet for the sport industry. At the GSC, in this end, we have been supporting different open innovation program because I prefer build the future, not predict the future. Not, and in this sense, we are working with sport entities and big banks like Santander Bank, who sponsor like La Liga in Spain or Copa Libertadores in South America, or Champion, to create a new solution to create social impact or more accessibility for the stadium for all the people, diversity, and I hope in the next 5 years this will be the future, no, with technology in this area.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute. So I think, Iris, I think you made a lot of valid points about the growth that you have seen in Argentina and the way how South America has grown in sports. So Hemant, on the same cue, wanted to have a question to you. It's how do you see the as we know that we are the youngest country and so much of population, and the whole world is looking at it. Even the Manchester United or the European clubs are wishing happy Holi and happy Baisakhi to target the fans that we have from India to support the European clubs. I think the moments of Ronaldo and Messi are making more waves. So with the Indian population looking at it, but to make the impact in the sporting culture at the elite level, the primary basic two below part, which is participative and competitive sport, where you also have a lot of experience. How do you think this technology is going to make an impact from Indian startup perspective?
Yeah, I think as I said, right, we're still in very nascent stage, and you've covered it, Sid. I mean, like we're a growing market, and you're seeing some changes, right? I mean, like the government, though I agree with Mr. Agarwal, the government should be least involved, but it has to be a facilitator, you know, and unless it is a facilitator, things cannot really move. It's an enabler, right? So it enables the private sector to come and participate more, and that's what is happening. So from a mass aspect, you know, it's about as such, we've never had like a really good sporting culture in the country, right? It's always been sorry, Iris, I'm going to say a statement in Hindi, which means खेलोगे कूदोगे तो बनोगे नवाब, मतलब उल्टा पढ़ोगे लिखोगे बनोगे नवाब, खेलोगे कूदोगे बनोगे नवाब. So what it means is, if you study hard, you're going to do well in life. So because that's going to provide bread on your table. But if you play sports, it's not going to get you anywhere in life. That was the whole enabling thought in this country for really long. But that is changing. You know, the young generation of today believes that sports provides them opportunity, not just at an elite level where they can actually get recognized. And I think the credit for that really should go to, as I keep saying, the change. We all keep saying cricket takes away large chunk of the revenue in this country, but cricket has also changed the way we see sports in this country and how it is played in this country. If it was not for IPL, if it was not for BCCI setting IPL, you wouldn't have had 10 other leagues that have mushroomed. The 10 other leagues that mushroomed gave employment to thousands of athletes and aspiration to millions of young guys saying that they can actually go there out and perform and have a job, an opportunity to excel, out there. And I think that is being done successfully. And that success is partially started translating. In Paralympics in 2000 and in the Rio Games, we won 4 medals, right? Today we've got 19 medals. So there's a huge change, right? 4 to 19 in 1 year, that's a shift for a country that doesn't see sport as a primary source of income, right? Us winning few medals more in the Olympics, we won more medals in the main Olympics this year in Tokyo than we've ever won, right? So all those things are changing. The mindset is changing. And I think how technology is playing it has a big role to play. And I think you are seeing that changes coming in through the ground spaces that were available out there, the fields that are out there. They were inaccessible for people. They didn't know how to book them. I'm not going down to the rural level as yet. Let's look at the city level first, right? There were lots of sports spaces or fields which were available, but nobody could use it. Technology came in on an app. Now you can book a field, go out and play, and you know which field is empty, right? So you can actually go in utilization. What it does is it provides revenue for brown assets, which was sitting empty, which were a liability. It helps them monetize. But on the secondary side, which I see actually has become primary, is the kids are able to utilize and play. I mean, like the coaches are there, academies are being set up, and all that is being done at the power of a click of a button, right? And why has that happened? Because India is the cheapest data in the world, right? And we're able to utilize data to the next level, right? And that data power is being utilized in various forms, whether it's about booking fields. Now, if you see the Indian cricket team, right, they're wearing vests. Most people wouldn't even know about it. Below their shirts, they're wearing these vests, which are black in color, which are actually giving 25 or 30 different parameters to the team, which is the support team, which is sitting out there, measuring their heartbeats. How are they performing? Is their health at danger? Can they perform to the next level? And Iris knows about it. Microsoft does this at next level by providing all these solutions, which are called connected solutions, right? So I think we're still way off, but Asia is the next future for technology. We're a 4.7 billion continent, right? India, out of that 4.7 billion, is 25% of that population, right? 1.2, 1.3 billion, right? So that's a huge number. What does it play? I think we're at that future intersection of sports, fitness, health, and wellness and technology, right? Where has it changed? Largely, the pandemic has changed it in a long way, right? Because now it's no more about, oh, I want to go out and play sport. It's about wellness. How can I keep my health out there, which is of progress? Can I ensure that my overall wellness is going to be well out there? And I think more and more people are realizing that. In India especially, a lot more people are spending a lot more money on their wellness and their well-being, which, if you have good health, right, you've got more apps about fitness. You've got more apps about, the government is spending more money on rural. I think the sports technology through, we're no more a one screen. If you look at the way we are viewing our sports now, it's no more we're just viewing on the television. We've got the second screen and the third screen and the fourth screen probably also. We're looking at different ways. So I think we're at the cusp where things are going to change amazingly, and there's a lot more money that is going to be poured in. There are companies like Stance Beam, which is creating these small little tools that go on the head of a bat, of a cricket bat, and people can actually go and see their performance on an app, whether my bat speed was, coming down, the bat was fast or a slow bat, or, it gives data back to the coach. The coach is able to analyze better. And all it requires, it doesn't require you to be technologically advanced. Even a young kid is able to read that data and talk to his coach, who, because of pandemic, might be sitting virtually somewhere else. So you can be practicing with a virtual ball and you're actually doing that. You must have read about, and I keep coming back to cricket because it has a huge influence, right? I mean, like, and why I keep saying it has an influence is, in a recent interview, one of the guys asked the Paralympic teams of all the athletes that were there, why did you take up sports? What motivated you? You know, what was their answer? Their answer was, growing up, we saw Sachin Tendulkar play cricket. So it motivated us to take sports. So cricket, yes, it takes away a lot of money, but it has a huge bearing on the mind and soul of the country as a large, how probably football has in Spain, you know, and that's what it is. So it's about that one sport is always the leader, the others will follow. Kabaddi, which is a national sport, wouldn't have got a platform to where it is if it was not for an IPL being out there, right? A wrestling, we wouldn't have got that platform. And all these things are helping create more employment. And I believe that technology is a big time enabler in doing all this in our country.
Yeah, and very valid point that you made, Hemant. I think it's about cricket is playing a big role in the whole thing. And the solution that you're talking about is like, I know one of the company called Smart Bat who make the thing bat smarter, so those are really good. Now we have come up with the smart balls and smart belts, and but cricket has put the way we see European market, a lot of technology that we get to see start up in the football sector, like from the company like AI Scout to which is using AI kind of platform towards scouting of kids globally, and which is now it's a European company scouting kids in India. So I think it has actually, technology has broken the boundaries. So Sudhir, my question to you about when the technology is breaking the boundaries and we're talking about entrepreneurial mindset has to come in and more startup has to come in. How do you think the government or the whole ecosystem is creating these kind of entrepreneurs in India?
Sure, sir. So I think first, if you really look at it, I think in our minds, we have to get to commoditization of sports. We have to start believing in sports. Like Hemant rightly said, you know, there was a saying, that saying still good. Even today, there is a perception that if you are focusing on sports, that means you are running away from your studies. That's a mindset problem. So I think mindset has to be changed. Commoditization of the sport has to be done. And IPL again is a great example that, you know, today if we have, you know, in our cricket teams, we have a huge pool of resources available. This kind of commoditization has happened through IPL. So like between this Olympic and next Olympic, what happens normally once the Olympic happens, then closer to next Olympic, you will see every Tom, Dick and Harry in the country, you know, jumps into that in whatever the way one can. But do we have a structured program where we say, hey, the Olympic is over. This is what we gained. This is what we lost. And how do we maximize ourselves towards the next Olympic? Now, do we run it like a program? I don't know. It might be my lack of understanding or, you know, knowledge, but I don't think we run this like a campaign, like a program. And that is where, you know, if we get 10 times, 100 times people, sports person participate into that. If we run some, you know, hackathon doesn't mean only technological led. Even if we run like, you know, on TV, you see this program where we bring the young singers. Now, for sports, the same thing can be done. You know, across the country, these, you know, themes are run and then they are brought onto the national, state level, national level. And, you know, we have to create a pool. We have to create excitement. Today, when you see these kids or the young people singing on the, you know, shows, the real talent really comes out of it. The best of the best you find, you know, they're coming on the show to evaluate them, to motivate them, to encourage them. So that's, you know, something like we can say Bollywood is doing that, or, you know, some industry related to Bollywood is doing that. Likewise, I think sports has to be we have to re-energize our minds first towards sports. And as I said, you know, between the moment Olympic is over, we should say now the Olympic has started. because now we have to start working towards next. How can we, have targets? Nothing wrong in having targets. And we say like, prepare ourselves. Then we have to bring the best together. And how do we ensure that it reaches the masses? I think those are some of the things. And technology is one. At least I am also associated in a small way in education or in the, from the rural perspective. Sid, imagine when today you go to a rural area and the kind of questions you get from them. They amaze you. They surprise you. Sometimes you are unanswered because you have to answer at their wavelength. So today, there was a time when the central government used to be not even in dreams of a farmer or in dreams of a villager. Today, they do everything by paying 5 rupees, 10 rupees, 15 rupees, 20 rupees, 25 rupees fee to a local person who's reaching out, the assisted model. So I think sports also has to do some hand holding of the youngsters. In like TV programs, they bring up singers or the dancers to the platform. We have to create those platforms. And I noticed Heyman did mention about Kabaddi. Now Kabaddi was coming on a TV show, but we have to see that how do we maximize the viewership of that. Because we find like, some of the stars from Bollywood, from sports, they were, coming behind that. But how do we really bring them as a prime time discussion, prime time, focus? So I think multi-fold approach has to be applied. And technology today is the enabler. In my language, I call it reach the unreached. The people who, who are not in our ecosystem, in our perspective today, technology has the means and ways to reach them. But we have to invest in ensuring the channel between the demand side and the supply side. We have to create the channel and aggregators possibly in between the aggregators. And I'm not saying commercial aggregator, but the passionate aggregator. But it has to be made of masses. We have to create like a marathon. We have to create like a momentum, and we have to run it like a program, and see that how all around sports, we beyond some passionate like cricket, which has a lot of money, a lot of passion, is a religion of of India. How do we bring other sports to a different level in terms of their popularity, their acceptance, their viewership, their participation? I don't know if you will agree with me, Sid and Hemant, especially in India. Other than cricket, whenever there is a win, there is a full hall, on that as they arrive at the airport. That stays for a while. But then, it has its own natural, it goes in the background. So how these, stuff, first thing, instead of one, how can we have 10, 20, 100 stars, whether they go to Olympic or not? And how we can create celebrities out of sports who are not even celebrity possibly in their own sports at a certain level, but we have to create avenues of champions and who can run this like a momentum. So that, some of these thoughts Sid, I would like to share.
Yeah. Sudhir, I think wonderful. I think we are coming to the later part of our panel discussion, and I want to touch upon a very important topic, which is like ecosystem of sport is driven by other than sport. Two most important thing is one is brands and one is fans. And how is a place like Global Innovation Center is looking at developing this thing together, and how do you think the fan engagement can be amplified and brands get more and more ROI to have a long-term deals with sports so that sports gets the money they deserve? How is technology playing a role in the multiple aspects of fan engagement?
Yeah. Sorry.
No,
yeah. Okay. I think if you think the sport like entertainment, today we can talk about sportainment, datainment. I think today the sport create content, and in this sense, the fan want to get content 365 days, 4 hours per day. No, and in this sense, I think the club need to work in their digital strategy, because sometimes it's difficult for the sport entity how they can integrate all these different solutions, the app, the gaming solution, the OTT in the same platform. And this is why, in this sense, Microsoft with partner are working to create the end-to-end solution to help the sport entities and create this space where the startup can become a real provider for these sport entities and reduce the cost for the sport entities. And in this sense, I think the fund can create new revenue streams for the sport industry, can work together and in different model to detect new asset for the club. And in the end, I think the fund want to feel the motion regarding if in the stadium or is in their home, they can give support with different way, no? And I think the technology today allow the club to explore different way to monetize and create new revenue stream in the fan engagement scenarios.
Interesting. I think very rightly said about the whole ecosystem coming together and the technology is playing a big role there. So Hemant, my question to you is, and I want to touch upon the brand amplification and the brand engagement during the IPL days and beyond, the way it is growing. And earlier, in India, we always talk about that teams don't get the long-term sponsorship deal the way US or Europe gets it, and probably because the brands are not getting the ROI. But now with technology, I think there is a multiple ways to get that kind of ROI. So how do you think the fan engagement, brand amplification actually can come together with multi-screen that you were earlier talking about from the sports tech personality? And also, if you want to touch upon on the other sides of technology, which probably we want to discuss that you feel are going to be very useful for Indian market, because finally, if there's money, the sports will grow. And we are in a chicken and egg situation right now. So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think Iris has covered a lot of it. I mean, like, and how technology is helping brands and engagement at a fan level. I mean, like, the fan engagement is paramount for any team or any league's success. And because of that fan engagement, the brands are able to pour in more money. I mean, like, it's all kind of connected, right? If it wasn't for fan engagement, the brands wouldn't be even looking at putting money, because they believe by engaging the fans, they are able to convert the guys who are sitting on the edge as their brand fans, right? And eventually it will lead to more consumption for them, and which leads to more revenues. How is that changing? I think it is primarily has changed to a large extent. If you look at if you looked at the recent India-England series that is going on, you see overlays of brands, right, on the square of the wickets on both sides. Those are images that are not actually there on the stadium. They're overlaid at the broadcast level. So they're able to, kind of display 8 different brands, which are actually not even present inside the stadium. I mean, like, that is happening because of technology, right? You're able to monetize your assets and live even beyond that, right? There are technologies that are helping at, and I think the key there is about having smart stadiums, right? And smart stadium is the future. We haven't really invested a lot in smart stadiums in India as yet. stadiums have to convert from just hosting games to becoming social meeting places, right? And when that happens, when they convert into social meeting places, there is actually going to be more engagement of the fans. And how is that happening? Obviously, there's the second screen. I mean, like when I say keep saying second screen, it is you're not just watching on your television or on your other things, but there are different screens that are out there on which you can actually see. It's more connected. You'll be able to identify faces in the crowd through technology, which can then tell you, hey, that was Sid who's sitting on that corner. Can I engage him at a different level, right? And that happens in a lot of fan engagement tools. You are able to actually sit inside the stadium and play quizzes on your mobile, right? Because of the 5G technology that is out there. The guy who's sitting inside the stadium, who's hosting from the team level, can actually engage people through the 5G method inside at the phone level. People can order brands. The official sponsors can dole out, offers, which can be converted into sales. So technology is actually taking to the next level. People are able to book their parking spaces in advance. And we've used that tool at our stadium at Delhi, wherein there was a parking app which was created. Delhi has a huge parking menace, right? There is no official parking space. So how do you block parking in advance? So we had an app where you could actually book your parking slot up in advance. And in Europe and America, it's pretty common out there. But it's coming in. I mean, like it's making life convenient, right? In the future, that is going to happen. And as Iris was talking about, I think one thing which is really, really important in the future is sustainability. And that sustainability, without sustainability, stadiums won't survive, sports won't survive, nothing would survive, right? You have to reduce your carbon footprint. You have to do more of recyclables. All the materials are going to become more recyclable. You can, kind of recycle everything, and it goes back into the ecosystem and comes back and being offered to you again at different levels that would be engaged. Stadiums are becoming more and more, the usage of electricity is going to shift from solar to solar stadiums. And that's happening. And I'm seeing that. That's why I call them smart stadiums. They will switch off lights and switch on lights depending on what is required, where the power utilization is required and where it's not required. So I think engagement is going to happen at a lot of levels at fans. It's not just about fan engagement, but fan will be engaged at different levels with the technology. And I think that's the key, and that's the future. And I think the major shift we've started already witnessing in Asia because of the Olympics in Tokyo. Now we have the Winter Olympics in China, where more technology will be tested. And finally in Qatar at the World Cup, which is now becoming the hub. And Sid, you and me have been mentors with the Qatar ecosystem there. You see the amount of activity that is going around football is just next level. And the amount of technology and the apps, they will eventually start filtering down into other countries too. And India is going to gain out of it because, what works in India's favor, and I keep saying, it's the amazing amount of people that we have. It is a liability, but it's also a super asset, and that asset is because of the growing middle class that we have. It's around 300 million people, right? The growing middle class only. That is the class that has money to spend. They want convenience in life. And as you have convenience in life, and what brings convenience? Technology. And sports and wellness, which have become part of your everyday ecosystem, things are getting adopted. I mean, like, people wear apps. So you go for a run, you have a phone app or a watch or telling you what you're doing, how many heartbeats you've consumed, how much food you're eating. You can actually scan your food these days and say, oh, how many calories you've eaten. I mean, like, could you ever dreamt about what was in your thali before and how much were you eating? No, you can now. I mean, like, things are changing, and that's the beauty of technology. And I think, and I think Iris and Sudhir said that at some level, unless technology moves from elite to mass, it's never going to sustain and build on itself. And I think it's moving in that direction. And India is at the cusp of it.
Interesting. I think it was, I think you summed it up pretty well, talking about the whole gamut of technologies that we can look at and how it is required from sustainability to implementation to engagement to multi-screen and everything that you're talking about. And we're talking about fitness, right? Fitness has taken everything by storm. So my last round of question for a closure is, Irish, one things come to our mind is multiple. You are supporting multiple innovative startups and multiple things that you're doing. In your experience, what has been the most successful or the good bet in the sports technology till now, and what do you think is the good bet in coming 3 years?
Iris, the question's to you, I think.
Iris, the question is to you.
Yeah, it's not easy, only one, because I represent 300 members
exactly.
of the ecosystem, but I think the solution that use the data to give new opportunity for the business is the key. Today, we can use this data for the sponsor, for the club, for the player, for the fans. In this sense, my answer is all of this innovation that use the data to create a new revenue stream and support insight for the sport entities is the key.
Okay, so the bottom line is all entrepreneurs, all people are looking at sports technology and innovation. I think they are welcome without having any boundaries. I think that is the bottom line. So it's an encouraging thing. It's not like we are looking at only NFTs or blockchain or only this or only that. I think that you are, because what you say sets a good tone for entrepreneurs to feel really connected and pour more passion into what they are doing. So I think it's a wonderful thing. So Hemant, the similar question goes to you. You've been an investor and advisor at so many companies. So what do you think is the best bet, considering is B2B, B2C, which kind of area that you feel are going to be the thing that you want to bet on from the sports tech startups?
Well, I think, as I said, I mean, like we're still at a very novice stage in big data. I mean, like data is the key, as Iris said, right? And data is used in all aspects of life. RMG is already taken off in this country, right? RMG is already a unicorn. I mean, that's not what you're looking at. What you're going to look at, I think, is the two things where the real money is going to come in. And I feel where India needs a lot is activity and performance. And activity and performance can move from elite to mass, both, right? And that's where I think we need a lot more investment. And technology can enable us to identify young athletes, identify their potential, scan their body compositions, because India is a very diverse country. We're literally as big in forms of diverse nature. We're as good as Europe, right? Literally, because each state is as big as a country in Europe. And people have different body structures, up north versus south versus east versus west. So how do you utilize that? That's where technology comes into play. This body suits for this sport. Not every body suits for every sport, right? So from elite to mass, that's where I think activity and performance comes in. Next, where the big opportunity for me is in management and organizations, right? We really lack on those things, and sports technology can help turn giants like Sports Authority of India, which are white elephants, into a more technology-enabled organization, which can help government run the effective, elite programs like TOP, which is a TOP top program, which is producing athletes for the next 2 cycles of the Olympics, right? Into a more enabled way of doing that. And the last is obviously fan engagement, which is very, very big, media and fan. And I think we're seeing that innovation happening a lot more on the media and the fan side, with a lot more sports leagues. I think IPL is taking the lead in that, followed by Pro Kabaddi League. And now you have the Badminton League, etc., and all those table tennis leagues. So they are taking the leap, and you will see a lot more engagement. And I think COVID has helped us speed up a lot of fan engagement. When there were no people inside the stadium, How do you engage them? They were engaged through the second screen, in which second screen was your mobile, right? So you used it while there was program happening on television. You were engaging through brands on your mobile screen sitting at home, and you could participate. So what you did eventually was you bought the stadium into your sofa, so, and that is what's going to happen. And that's where the future is. And these are the three bets where I see the real money. NFTs, cryptos, they're the buzzwords, man. They will remain there. There will be just segments of things, but the core remains around these three things for me.
And I think very well put in by both of you. It's like finally the core is there, and the data plays the biggest role in the whole aspect. So last closing remark from Sudhir is, and data also plays the biggest role for government to take any actions as well. And a giant like Microsoft also works on the biggest data segment. So what do you think the entrepreneur needs to look at in Indian market to be meaningful when data comes to the picture in the sporting industry?
So Sid, I will say, like, first, I think we need to, for sports, if we really want to commoditize, I think we have to learn the model from FMCG industry. How do they create a pull factor? The best industry to create a pull factor, I think, is the FMCG industry. Today, you see they go to the village level and sell, whatever they have to sell. So that is one. Two, if you see technology, again, can help significantly in creating a pull factor, and we have to learn from something like what I said. This TV programs on pulling the artist, singing artists or performing artists. So I think that's where we have to create those programs, and technology being a certain enabler, and data, because once more and more data we publish, we use, and we relate to people. And my, again, 2 cents will be, start focusing on the last mile in the country, because that is where we can create the fan masses more meaningfully, with a lot of passion and a lot of charm.
Thank you, Sudhir. I think that was a wonderful thing, and summed it up pretty well with whatever that we had, the amazing input from Iris and Heyman. So thank you for your time, and it was wonderful chatting with you all. Thank you, Global Sports Conclave, for this wonderful panel on sports technology, and thanks for getting us all together to discuss about the thing that we love is sports.
Yeah, thank you.